Today's daf is daf lamed daled. So just remind you quickly the last thing we're learning. We explained that our Mishnah is talking about chulin. We're trying to understand why the Mishnah said that because the animal didn't get wet, it's not mushal kabel tumah. Therefore, even though your hands are shnias, nothing happens. It sounds like, but if the animal would have been wet, something would have happened. And we asked shnias, where does it go? So we said we're talking about, and we're definitely not talking about kachim. So we say, because it says chaya there. So we say we're talking about, we gave 4 reasons why we're not talking about kachim in our Mishnah, because we know kachim continues to a revi, no problem. So we said that there's an argument between Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yeshua. We're talking about chulin shenaso atar zakedesh. Yeah, so and we explained that there's 2 views there. We review Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yeshua. According to Rabbi Lezer, whatever you eat, that's what you become. When all these didn't that we say if you touch it, you become 1 step lower, is only if you touch it. But if you actually eat it, you become just like the food. The oichel becomes like the meichel. And Rabbi Yeshua disagrees. He says you ate a rishon, you become a sheni. But then interestingly, he says if you ate a sheni, you also become a sheni, which we might will discuss. And then he says if you ate, by chulin doesn't go any further. But if you ate a shlishi, basically what he says is if you ate a shlishi, well, as far as if you did chulin and you decided to prepare on taras hakodesh, he says no, batul daitez ekladam, it's nothing. But if you did it for truma's sake, you decide you can eat chulin as if it's truma, because kohanim eat truma all the time and they want to make sure that it doesn't make mistakes. So they're always in a certain standard of tara. So over there we say by truma that if you ate. So truma goes for shlishi. So, but if you ate it, if you touched truma, let's say if you ate a shlishi of truma, nothing. If you touched a shlishi, nothing goes further. But if you ate a shlishi of truma, you become a sheni for kodesh. Now, if you had a shlishi of truma, it doesn't go any further. It doesn't go any further. But you become, as we went up a level, for kodesh. If you touch kodesh, we're going to try to explain why. You become a sheni for kodesh if you ate a shlishi, and also you're not allowed to eat truma, even though you're a shlishi, and we say that doesn't go any further. If you touch anything, nothing happens. But and in fact, but you become also a shlishi for truma, which means that you're not allowed to eat truma. You're not allowed to eat truma. Okay, that's what we learned, and we'll discuss that all that today. So we're up to the Gemara here, Daf Lamed Daled, Amud Aleph. Says the Gemara here. Omar Ulula says, so we said that Rabbi Yeshua holds that only chulin shenaso taras hatruma we go so strict. But if he did chulin shenaso taras hakodesh, he said, I'm going to eat chulin like kodesh, doesn't go anyway because you're about to die to Tzladim. I don't agree. Chavraya, my friends did say, B'chulin shenaso al taras hakodesh. They said that our Mishnah is talking about that you did chulin and you had in mind kodesh, and therefore our Mishnah said that if it would have been wet, it would have gone further. And they said, like Rabbi Yeshua, our Mishnah does not conform with Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua doesn't hold that you can't chulin shenaso al taras hakodesh. Nothing happens. What about no? I mean Rabbi Yeshua. I hold our Mishnah goes to everybody. So how could Rabbi Yeshua only mentions chulin shenasu al taras hatruma? What about taras hakodesh? He's saying, well, of course, taras, which is stricter, kodesh or truma? Truma only goes to a 3rd generation, and kodesh goes to a 4th generation. So of course, kodesh is stricter than truma. So of course, if a person takes upon themselves to eat chulin, ordinary food, and treat it as if it's kodesh, of course, if it goes all the way down to the V. The chiddush here is that even by truma, is stricter than eat shlishi. Now, surely that there's a shlishi as far as kachim are concerned. That even if it's chulin, that you decide you're going to treat it as if it's truma. Nama isbahu shlishi. That if there's a shlishi over there as well. Man Chavraya, who is this friend of Ula? Ula, the previous Gemara. That's Rabba Bar Chana. That's Rabba Bar Chana named Rabbi Yechon. From the discussion that the Rabba Bar Chana had with Rabbi Yechon, from that discussion we can understand that Rabba Bar Chana holds that Rabbi Yeshua is only learning that chulin shenasu al taras hatruma. Do we say that you has all the name of truma, it goes to a shlishi, and a shlishi becomes a sheni as far as kachim is concerned. But if you took chulin, you say I'm going to eat it as if it's kodesh, nothing happens because Butler died to Eitzer Kolodim. And Ula is saying that's what my friend Rabbi Bachon holds. I disagree with him, but let me just tell you how do I know that? From a discussion between Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Shua. Okay, quick reminder again. Rabbi Lezer says you become what you eat. You are what you eat. Rishon, Sheni, Shlishi, Shlishi. Rabbi Shua says no. You ate a Rishon, you become a Sheni. You ate a Sheni, you become a Sheni. That's going to be difficult. And then if you ate a Shlishi, so and only he said by Chulin Shanas, this is what Rabbi Shua said previously. Only Chulin Shanasa the Taras Atrum. If you're Shlishi, you become a Sheni for Hektish. But you don't become a Sheni for Truma. If you touch Truma, nothing happens. But you're not allowed to eat Truma regardless, because you're a Shlishi. This is the discussion about Rabbi Shua. My had Rabbi Shua. What did they answer? Respond to each other. Rabbi Shua. I hold that you become what you eat. You know why? Because I hold that the eater is usually, we deal strictly with the eater more than the food itself. So the oichel should always be treated more strict than the meichel. And therefore it's called parchas. It should become like the meichel, not less. Where do you see that the oichel, the eater, the consumer, is stricter than the meichel? I'll tell you where. By an avelus oiftoir, the carcass of a kosher bird. If you touch it, nothing happens. Nothing happens. But yet, when you eat it, the eater becomes tummy. So what do we see from here? We treat the eater more severely than we treat the food. So surely, if you ate a sheni or a rishon, you should become at least the same level as the food you ate. But you know, if you touch a nevelas, on the outside, nothing happens. If you ate it, metame begodim abesa blia, and what? It's metame begodim on the base, only when you consume it. So what do you see from that? That the food is stricter. The eater is stricter than the food. So therefore, if you ate a rishon, you should be a rishon, a sheni. So how can it be that we should not treat the consumer at least at the same level as the food that he ate? If you ate a rishon, you should become a rishon. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Shua, why isn't he deterred by that? He says, you can't learn anything from there. You can't compare anything. You know why? The whole thing is a chiddush, like you raised yesterday. Normally by tumah, we say that tumah is only gluya. Only if you touch it, you become tummy. But if it's beis hastarim, if the thing that's generating a tumah is inside you, nothing happens. Mashenkin nevelos of Torah is pum fakert. You touch it, nothing happens. You ate it, dafke when it's inside you, that's when you become tummy. That's a chiddush. So if it's a chiddush, you can't compare anything to it. The that's one chiddush. Yeah. Ella. So what's my word? Matzino. I hold fakert, says Rabbi Yeshua. I hold shahamachol chomim in eichel. I hold that food is stricter than the consumer. So if the food is addition, you become a sheni. The food is and so on. And how do I know that? Where do you find a precedent that the food is treated and it's more strictly than the person? The Michael, how much food do you have to eat before the Michael bekabeya? Michael to spread tumah has to be the size of a beya. Machlek is Rashi and Taisus Rachas. What about to receive tumah? Do you also have to be the size of a beya or even a mashu? Rashi holds a mashu, Taisus holds a beya. So then that's how you interpret the words here. Michael bekabeya. If you consume, if you eat food and you become tummy, add the ochel kachatze pras. You have to eat the size of 2 eggs. A pras is either 4 eggs or 3 eggs. So you have to, and the chatzi pras is half of that. So Rashi holds is 4 eggs, so it's 2 eggs. Not like the Rambam. So in order for you to become tummy, you have to eat more than the amount of food that's metame. So what does that show? That we treat food stricter than a person. So if food's addition, you become a sheni. But Rabbi Lezer, well, how's he going to respond to that? First he's going to respond, then he's going to ask a question. First of all, he says, Tuma mishiurin lo gamrin. There's 2 different categories. The amount is, we're talking about the level of tumah, and you're talking about how much you have to consume. It's 2 different things. They're different altogether. So what if there's a chumrah there by the food more than the person? Melabas. Number 1. Number 2, you're telling me that the person always 1 step lower than the food. But you said if you ate a rishon, you become a sheni. But you said if you ate a sheni, you always become a sheni. We clapped. But according to your logic, good. Then, but sheni lama. Why, if you ate a sheni, you become a sheni? According to your own logic. Amalai, so Rabbi Shua says, you know why? Because you find a precedent where a sheni makes a sheni. Where do you find that? Matzinu, we find shahasheni oisa sheni. How? Ayidei mashkin. Chachamim made a gzeda that all mashkin, because of mashkin zov, which is so chomer, the liquids from a zov, a guy has an emission becomes an ab. So therefore, we decide that all mashkin becomes a tchila. So if a sheni touches mashkin, if a sheni touches food b'chulin, nothing happens. You touch mashkin, the mashkin becomes a rishon, and now if this mashkin touches other food, it becomes a sheni. So here you have a sheni via mashkin produces another sheni. That's why if a person eats a sheni, you become a sheni also. Says if a mashkin nami, so matzina shasheni is a sheni, I did mashkin. So Rabbi Lezer jumps back. He said, "Oh, so he said, you have to write to me." So sheni, and the mashkin becomes an rishon. So if you want to compare to that, make the person an rishon. But mashkin nami tchila have. Mashkin becomes a tchila. So therefore, why you go two steps away? You're saying that the reason why a person who eats a sheni becomes a sheni, because the sheni makes mashkin a tchila, and the tchila makes the other food a sheni. If you're going to compare sheni, then just go straight to the mashkin, make the person a rishon, like the mashkin. If you're like, nah, we learn that anything that passes truma is good. No, passes means the end of the line. A sheni makes truma a shlishi. So anything that makes truma a shlishi, makes it possible. If it touches mashkin, makes mashkin a rishon. Chutz Chul Yom is such a low level of truma because you already went to the mikveh. You just got to wait till sunset in order to eat truma. Then that person, even though he passes truma, does not make mashkin a rishon. Furthermore, another question on you. Shlishi, remember we said if you ate a shlishi of chulin, if you ate a shlishi of chulin that was holy, if you ate a shlishi, then you become a sheni. You yourself now, you're supposed to be a step lower. And here, not only are you making it equal, you're going a step higher. You ate a shlishi, and you made me a sheni, as far as kodesh is concerned. Shlishi, sheni lama. Why did you make this person catapult him into a sheni? You made the person stricter than the food. Amalai, so Rabbi Lezer says, Rabbi Shua answers back, Afani lo yamarti ela betruma. They said if you ate chulin shenasa al taras hakodesh, nothing happens because butler daite zekladam. This is only chulin shenasa by al taras truma. It's only chulin that you treat like truma, and by truma. I only said it by truma. Taharosa, truma he eitzel hegish. The problem is that if somebody we learned in Chaim about kodesh, remember the third page in Chagiga, all the different levels of truma and chulish and nasal taras kodesh. And there we said that if you only are vakayin is only vigilant as far as truma is concerned and make sure he keeps a certain standard of tara. As far away, if it comes to hegdish, he's considered tameh. He's considered like a zov. And he has to go ahead and retire himself because that standard of Tara is a much lower vigilance than the standard of Tara by Hegdish. So I'm talking about if you made a chulin shenasa Tara satruma. So what level of Tara, of vigilance of Tara are you doing? A level of truma. Now you want to eat Hegdish, we're going to treat you like a sheni because that's the din. That if somebody only is vigilant for truma. So what do we see from here? But what do you see from all of this? That Anilo Marti, that he's saying only by Chulin Shanasa Tar Truma. So Ula is saying that's Rabba Bar Bachan, the name Rabbi Yochanan. He's the one who's saying that Rabbi Yeshua's din is only limited to Chulin Shanasa Al Tar Truma. But I personally hold that Rabbi Yeshua hold that even Chulin Shanasa Al Tar HaKodesh is the same thing. You can go to a Shlishi and a V. I disagree with his pshat and Yeshua, and therefore Al Mish, you can be Rabbi Yeshua as well, just as well. So now the Gemara says another opinion. Rabbi Zayda said, "Name Rabbi Yochanan, Amar Rabbi Yana, name Rabbi Yana. Ha'oichel shlishi shel chulin. If somebody eats a shlishi of chulin, shenas al taras hakodesh. If somebody ate a shlishi of chulin of shenas al taras hakodesh, nasa gufa shein lekodesh. His goof becomes a shein lekodesh, which is exactly the same opinion as Ula, that Rabbi Yeshua is not only limited to a case if you took truma upon yourself to be mitar, even if you took chulin and shenasa taras hakodesh, it has all the din of kodesh, and therefore if you ate a shalishi, you become a sheni for kodesh. So first, Abzed asked Abasi a question. Let's look at the words of Rabbi Yeshua. Shlishi. Rabbi Yeshua said that a shlishi, if you ate a shlishi, sheni, you become a sheni lekodesh, right? You become, as far as kachim are concerned, as far as truma is concerned, there's nothing further. But as far as kachim is concerned, we elevate you a level. You become like a sheni, and if whatever you touch becomes a shlishi, as far as kachim are concerned, in the world of kachim. but the ain sheni truma. You don't become a sheni as far as truma is concerned. And what did Yeshua say? Bechulin shenas al taras truma. I'm talking about where you took chulin and you decided to keep it level of tahila of like the truma. So therefore, if you ate a shlishi of that, as far as hegdish is concerned, you're still tummy. You become like a sheni. But as far as truma is concerned, that's the end of the line. Can't go any further. And so what does he say clearly here? The words he uses shenaz only if the food was made chulin taras truma. Sounds like dafka taras truma in. That's the only time we're machmir about taras hakodesh lay. But if you would have taken chulin and have a mind to treat it as if it's hegdish, nothing would happen. In other words, the way Rabba Baba Chana learned. The way Rabba Baba Chana learned. How can you, Rabbi Asi, come along and then Rabbi Yechon and say, like Ula, Rabbi Yeshua holds in all cases. He said what we said before the Gemara. When he said that Chulin Shanasa Taras, he didn't mean only. He meant Chulin Shanasa Taras Kodesh. Of course, he become a sheni because Kodesh is much stricter. But even the Chulin Shanasa Taras Truma, he also told me. That's how. So he said back to him, the wording of Rabbi Yeshua in L'chayda is loya marti ella. Sounds like he's limiting only. And Nochman, a bigger problem we have here. Rabba Baba Chana said it the name Rabbi Yechanan. And you Rabasi are saying the name Rabbi Yechanan. Rabba Baba Chana said the name Rabbi Yechanan that is only limited to Truma. And you, Rav Asi, and that's what he said before. Ani lo yamarti ella. And you, Rav Asi, are learning pshat in the name of Rabbi Yechanan, like Ula, that Rabbi Yeshua holds in all cases, whether Chulish Nasa has Truma, whether Chulish Nasa has a Kodesh. Everything about Amorain, leave Rabbi Yechanan. It's two Amorain in the name of Rabbi Yechanan. Amarul Ula says, Oichel Shlishi Shel Chulin. So now we're going to explain the next part of Rabbi Yeshua. We said this already. That if you ate Chulin Shenasa Al Taras Truma, if you ate, let's say, a Shlishi, then as far as Truma is concerned, as far as Hegdish is concerned, you jump back to a Sheni. But as far as Truma is concerned, nothing goes. You touch anything, nothing happens. But you're not allowed to eat Truma. You're not allowed to eat truma. Eating is not the same as touching. Touching doesn't go any further. But if you're a shlishi, if you touch truma, it doesn't go any further. But nevertheless, if you're not allowed to eat truma. Micah Mashmala, what's the chiddush? Tanina, didn't he say clearly what's Ula's chiddush? It says V'feidish. What did Yeshua say? Ula came along and said that you're not allowed to eat truma even though you're a shlishi. If because if you go for the shlishi, that's exactly what Yeshua said. Yeshua said shlishi. If you touch a shlishi, and we said before, talking about chulin shenasa taras truma, is sheni lekodesh. You become a sheni for kodesh, and then he said ve'ein sheni letruma. There's no sheni by truma. Bechulin shenasa taras truma. There's no. You don't become a sheni. You remain a shlishi. Sounds like sheni do lahava. You don't become a sheni, but shlishi have. You do become a shlishi. And what's the day you become a shlishi? L'chayda, but truma doesn't go any further than a shlishi. So if you touch any truma, nothing happens. So what's the big deal that you're not a sheni but you're shlishi? You're not allowed to eat truma. So Rabbi Yeshua is really by inference saying the same thing. You don't become a sheni by truma. So what do you become? You become a shlishi. And my nafkamina l'chayda by truma, nothing happens beyond shlishi. So if I'm a shlishi, as far as truma is concerned, big deal. So what? Nothing happens. Oh, but you can't eat it. So same thing as all the saying. The Gemara said, "Nein. If it would have been only the Mishnah B'Shua, your diuk, I would have made a different diuk. I would have said loy sheni have it, vil loy shlishi have it. What it meant is that not that it's not a sheni, but it is a shlishi. It's nothing. So how come he only mentions it's not a sheni? Only a contrast. We just said you become a sheni as far as hegdish is concerned. If you ate a shlishi of chulin shenasa taras and you ate a shlishi, as far as hegdish, we said hegdish, you become a sheni, but not for truma. So it doesn't mean, but a shlishi do become. He's just saying that this, what I just said by hegdish, you become a sheni, you should not fire. But truma, you don't become a sheni. But also you don't become a shlishi either. Nothing happens. But the reason why I use the word sheni is because that's the same word I used for hegdish. I said you do become a sheni for hegdish, but you don't become a sheni for truma. So who said that the diak should be, but you do become a shlishi? The diak should be, you become nothing. Kamash long, come along Ula. And Ula said, no, that's not pshat. The pshat is that as far as Truma is concerned, nothing happens. Once you're shlishi, nothing happens. What do you mean nothing happens? You don't become a sheni, but you do become a shlishi. And my nafkamina, you cannot eat Truma. A shlishi cannot eat Truma. A shlishi, even though it's chulin shenasa truma, you cannot eat. Talking about Eisvei, even the Chulin, Shanasa Taras Truma, you're not allowed to eat. Eisvei, it says, Harishan, it says in the Mishnah, Harishan shebechulin, it says like this, Harishan by Chulin is tummy, right? You become tummy, and umetame. Remember, by Chulin, it goes down 2 generations, as 4. Abiyavais, Av, Harishan, Sheni. So Harishan cannot be metame other mekalim, but Harishan can metame food, so and drink. So Harishan makes a Sheni. So Rishon is tummy. Remember, tummy means you can continue the progression, and pasul means that's the end of the line. So Rishon shebechulin is tummy umetame. But hasheni, a sheni by chulin pasul. It's pasul. The ain't metame. It cannot be metame. It cannot go any further. It's all because and when pasul a sheni by chulin will make a truma a shlishi. So, but that's the end of the line, and it can't make any. The ain't metame, and the truma can't go any further. The hashlishi and a shlishi of chulin, a shlishi of chulin is nechol benazid hadema. A shlishi of chulin can be eaten. Of course, a shlishi of chulin tavs hakodesh. So he says over here, a shlishi of chulin hakodesh can be eaten. Benazid hadema. You make a porridge of lentil soup that's mixed with chulin, with spices and everything else. You can eat it. You just said that if you're a shlishi by truma, it doesn't go any further. But eating you cannot. It says clearly here that you can eat this mixture, this food mixture that has truma in it, and you're a shlishi. But yeah, I mean, if you tell me that your gufa is possible, that I'm bringing truma, if you're a shlishi, at least you cannot eat. It's a feeling me the possible gufa. What do you tell me? You're allowed to feed him something which is possible for him. Amalei said to him, that's a bad example. You know why? Because how much truma is there already in this mixture? Remember, you're not allowed to eat truma, but here in this mixture, there's less than achilas pras. And therefore, there's not truma in here at all. So even though you're a shlishi, there's nothing wrong with eating this mixture. The leka kazayis b'chdei achilas pras. That is, when do we say that you're not allowed to eat the truma oichel guf? You ate a kazayis b'chdei achilas pras, but there is no kazayis of spices that you're going to eat within the time period of achilas pras. Whatever time is from 4 minutes to 11 minutes, all the different opinions. But it won't have that much, so therefore it doesn't happen. So what we're talking here about was chulin shenasa taz hakodesh. There's a few more lines we'll finish. If somebody eats, if you ate a shlishi of truma, till now we were talking about you ate chulin shenasa of taras of truma. Now you ate mamash truma. You ate truma. Also lechol shlishi shel truma atzma. Also lechol. If you are a shlishi, you're not allowed to eat truma. But a mutter liga, if you're a shlishi of truma, you can touch truma because nothing's going to happen. But you're not allowed to eat. So before we talked about you became shlishi through you became oichel, food. So nasa taras truma. Not truma itself. So the Gemara, what do we need both dinim for? The itzich, we need both dinim. The Ula was talking about chulin shenasa taras truma, and we need the Rabbi Yonasan was talking about truma itself. The ula, if we only know ula about chulin shenasa, I would have thought hani mili bechulin shenasa al taras truma. I would have thought I was only talking about chulin that nasa taras truma. Now what? That touching is not a problem. Don't eating. Ava but truma, but if mamish truma ben ginami aser. I would the mamish truma be even touching would be aser. Itzich to Rabbi Yonasan. See, Rabbi Yonasan as well tell you that a shlishi by truma nothing happens. Nothing happens. The imid Rabbi Yonasan, you tell me about that. If you're not allowed to eat truma, if you're shlishi, have a mina hani mila truma, which is so chomer. This is the real thing. So your shlishi shouldn't eat it. Abel chulin, but if you're only chulin shenasa al taras truma, so it's not really the same thing. Maybe bachil namashari. He says the shlishi doesn't mean anything. Maybe chil is mutter. Therefore, you need both.